Okay, I'm John Cadell from Cadell Insight Group, Caddell insightgroup.com. We're here today to talk about Enterprise 2.0 by Andrew McAfee. He is with MIT, used to be at Harvard Business School. I think just switched over a couple months ago. He writes an excellent blog on IT and business that I'd recommend you read if you haven't come across it yet. And so he's just produced his first book. And to explain the title, Enterprise 2.0 is a term he coined to refer to using Web 2.0 tools like Flickr, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and similar tools in a business context. I think the book is a lot like a recent book, Groundswell, that talked about, really explained to general business people how social tools affected customers and markets and how to use those to communicate and listen. Communicating from inside the business to outside. Enterprise 2.0 performs a similar task, focusing on using those tools within an enterprise, so more for collaboration and tapping the collective intelligence of every employee. And so it takes this kind of marginal topic and moves it kind of into a general management type discussion, which I think is really important. Get it out of the IT discussion and more into the general management discussion. As part of that objective, he does a really good job of explaining how these tools work and also what ties them together. Because if you think about tools like Flickr or YouTube or a blogging platform or a messaging platform or a wiki, there are a lot of differences among those, but he's kind of tied together the common threads using an acronym called SLATES: search, links, authoring, tags, extensions, and signals. Signals, for example, meaning things like RSS that allow people to follow these platforms without having to log on to them every single hour to see what's changed. Another important part of the book is in putting the different tools into a context in terms of how useful they'd be for different organizational problems. And he creates a bullseye metaphor focused on kind of the strength of ties between colleagues to explain that. So at the center of the bullseye are the strongly tied colleagues, meaning people who work together in the same department, in the same physical location, all the way out to the edge of the bullseye, which would be colleagues who really have no relationship at all, and different tools apply, according to McAfee, at different levels of that bullseye. So in the center, people with strong ties would get a lot of benefit out of using tools like wikis or collaborative development tools. Google Docs is another example of that. Midway out the bullseye, you've got colleagues with weak ties, so people who may know each other but don't get together often, don't talk that often, but would like to keep apprised of each other's activities for the purposes of sharing knowledge, sharing best practices, identifying solutions to problems, and so forth. And for that, sort of ring of the bullseye, Facebook-like tools are really useful. And then at the outer edge of the bullseye, where colleagues may have no relationship other than that they work for the same company, a prediction market is a useful tool that kind of gathers people's guesses about the possibility of certain things happening, like a certain sales volume being reached or a particular innovation being successful in the marketplace, and aggregating those to get sort of a better answer than any individual would come up with themselves. Another important part of the book is that he doesn't kind of go overboard in terms of enthusiasm for how great these things are and how they'll change the companies overnight. And he has a pretty clear-eyed view of how difficult it's going to be to bring these tools to wide use. And it just takes a long time, and he dwells on that to some extent of how long it takes for kind of revolutionary innovations to take hold, and he doesn't think this will be any different, although he is optimistic that it will happen eventually. And finally, in the book, he talks about kind of different management models or different kind of management practices that work well with these tools. And by contrast, he talks about something called Model 1 behaviors, which are more command and control type behaviors, self-protecting behaviors, and kind of less collaborative behaviors, which don't go well with these new tools. And to really utilize these new tools, people need to adopt what he calls Model 2 behaviors, which are more kind of collaborative, looking at not so much focused on self-protection as sort of looking out for the best interests of the company, and quite a different model than most people have seen at the companies that they work at. And I think that helps to underline the challenge in getting these systems adopted and in wide use. It's an excellent book. It's very well organized, very well written. Like I said, it takes an important topic and brings it into the mainstream. I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too.